Okay, good evening and welcome to the Creative Cabin Fever. On this episode, I have a special guest who isn't actually from the music industry, but is a creative type, and I thought it would be very interesting to have a different kind of guest. So on tonight's episode, I have my good friend, DJ. So DJ, what do you do?
Uh, Hi, Becca. First of all, thanks for having me on the podcast. It's very different than what I normally do. So, I suppose my day job is as a pharmacist in a hospital where I work in a cancer unit. But as you said, I'm a bit more of a creative type, so I've got a lot of other hobbies. Um, but I suppose in the media world, I'm the co-host of the Snugcast podcast, which is a podcast recorded once a week in a pub where we just like drink local beer and just have like just typical pub chat in Ireland where we could talk about anything. Sometimes serious, sometimes funny, sometimes just complete messing, but that's pretty much what I do. I drink and eat good food and have a good time. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and it's a very enjoyable podcast. Obviously, you featured me for Steak and DJ Day, but I had been listening to it before that. And I find it really interesting what you've done in the moment, obviously, because as you said, you meet in a pub to have your podcast normally. And that's not quite possible now that we're in quarantine. So for anyone out there who's listening who has never witnessed your show or seen what you've done to reinvent that, I'd be really interested to talk about what you've done in recent times.
Yeah, so I suppose actually the last time I recorded a podcast in a pub was with yourself. I suppose it's what, 2 months now, nearly, is it? I'm actually not even, I don't even know how long ago it was. It feels like about 2 years ago.
What
We
day is
met
it?
in Grady Bar. I, it's Tuesday because I should have released our last podcast last night, but I have to do it after this. Um, we basically, we normally go to a pub. Obviously, the pubs are short and likely, so we've had to get creative. And that's one thing that I found since starting Snowcast is another creative art is the art of brewing craft beer, and it's something that we've engaged with an awful lot since we did Snowcast. And we try and drink local beer and craft beer whenever we're in a pub to just try something new, try it out, see what it's like. And the independent beer industry in Ireland has been brilliant with the lockdown in that they have been organising collections and deliveries of cans directly from their breweries. So what we did with Snowcast in the last couple of weeks is we've teamed up with one of my favourite podcasts of all time, the Irish History Podcast. And we've teamed up with Finn from the Irish History Podcast. I mean, he's going 10 years next month at podcasting. Like, he is one of the real early innovators for Irish podcasting. And what we did was we got the Kildare Brewing Company to send us some beer. So we bought a slab of beer each of them. And every week we're just trying out a different beer from them. And similar to this, a little video conference call from each of our homes. And we've been recording a few podcasts on Friday nights. Usually it's a Thursday evening we go to the pub, but just for everyone, the ease of everyone else's sake, we've been doing it on Friday nights and just having a couple of cans. We spent the first 2 weeks ago. We chatted with Finn about the history of kind of pandemics and these kind of things that happen in Ireland and how like the current situation relates to previous ones. We also recorded a podcast last Friday then about the role of the media in the future of podcasting with another kind of really good Irish podcast who does the Echo Chamber podcast. So it's been really interesting just how we've had to. I thought this pandemic closure of pubs for a couple of months, I thought Snugcast is dead and buried. Like, it'll be months and we'll lose our listenership. But actually, it's gone from strength to strength. And we are doing our podcast at the moment, putting them out live on YouTube. So the video is actually going out live, and then we're releasing it as an audio file so people can listen to on their jogs within their 2 k radius or whatever during the pandemic. And it's pretty good. And I have to say, when you're in quarantine and in self-isolation, it's been brilliant for just maintaining that kind of social interaction. But as well as that, Becca, like, as you know, like, I'm a social creature. I need to meet and talk to people. So to just that kind of having a purpose and having something to aim for, and the weekend trying to maintain a structure in the week and something to work towards for the weekend is pretty good. And hopefully this Friday we're going to be recording a podcast with another Irish podcaster, Peter Kavanagh, who's part of the Mother Folklore podcast. And hopefully, if the timing works out right, we're going to be talking about the Irish language and and how the current situation might maybe help or detract from it, and see what we come up with. So it's been kind of innovating and trying to stay relevant as well, you know.
That's fascinating because today I actually reached out to a friend of mine who's a language teacher for Irish lessons because I never got to learn Irish and it's always been one of those things I really wanted to do. So today I was like, okay, I'm in quarantine. I want to work on stuff and languages I love anyway. And I was like, teach me Irish. So that's one of my side projects.
Yeah. But I think as well, because I speak fluent Irish, and I at one stage spoke fluent French. My French is like vastly gone now because I don't use it. But like Irish is actually, you speak Italian, don't you? Speak Italian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
French,
So
Italian, German, English, and a bit of Japanese.
and there you go. So you pick Irish up really quickly because it's a lot structurally. It's a lot has a lot more common with the Latin languages like French and Italian than English would have. So I mean, if you can speak Italian, German, Spanish, or Portuguese, you're going to find that Irish should come to you a bit more naturally. So yeah, go for it. Irish is brilliant. It's a great language, especially
And
when you're on a metro in London or something like that.
but it's always been something I wanted to do. Like I've always wanted to, but when I came back to Ireland when I was 14, because I was dyslexic, they wouldn't teach it to me because if you couldn't pass the exam, then you failed your leaving cert. Like,
Yeah. So if you didn't get an exemption, then you couldn't go to college unless you had the exemption. Yeah, spot on. But it's a great language, and again, like linguistics is a great creative outlet and engaging a part of your brain that you wouldn't otherwise engage in a day-to-day setting.
yeah. I was baking the other day, which was another creative thing I did, and I had your podcast on, so I got to listen to the live YouTube thing, and I really enjoyed it. Like, you guys are really
Brilliant. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Your whole stance
Well,
on
we
it.
talk a lot. Of nonsense.
Huh?
We talk a lot of nonsense, so it's good that it comes across as interesting. But I think the beauty of what we're doing at the moment is myself, Owen, and then Finn, who we've teamed up with. We come at pretty much every issue from a different angle. So you're not just getting three people repeating the same outlook, and that's always refreshing to hear in a podcast or from any form of media. You know, it's like coming back to the music team, which is the theme of this podcast. It's why I love. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but like my favorite band, for example, would be Bell X1. And what I love about Bell X1 is you can listen to all their albums, and the three members of the band influence each album differently. So all the albums, while they maintain like the main theme of the band, they're all very different in terms of the output at the end. So it's kind of a similar parallel to creating an album, trying to maintain a podcast, I think, and a podcast mini series, what we're trying to do at the moment as well.
Yeah, well, it's my way of seeing that is the best conversations or the best discussions I have aren't with like-minded people. They're with people who see the world differently because they give me something new, a new perspective or a growth in me. And if you kind of see the world that way, it's better, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you need to be challenged. Like, there's no point in existing in an echo chamber where all you're hearing is your own thoughts and your own feelings being like reverberated back to you. Like that's no good. I think to grow as an individual, you definitely have to engage with like variety of opinions and a variety of people with different backgrounds and coming at things from just a different viewpoint.
So outside of this reinvention with the podcast, which is brilliant and I'm really excited about, have you been doing anything else creative? Please tell me you've been working on comedy.
So I actually haven't done any comedy work at the moment. I probably will get a couple of sets out of this whole thing, but there's been a couple of things going on. I'm immunocompromised. I've got an autoimmune condition, and because of the medication I'm on, it means that I have to stay away from the hospital at the moment while the outbreak is on, because I'd be one of those high risk category people who could potentially die from COVID-19. So I've had to basically isolate myself at home. So to be at home for a number of weeks on your own, you have to engage with your creative processes. So I've gone down a couple of different routes. Gardening has been surprisingly very cathartic for me. So that's something that didn't think I would ever be too interested in, but landscaping and just making the garden look respectable, but then trying to put a little bit of flair and a bit of personal touch on it. I've actually of the spectrum then. I've always enjoyed a bit of gaming, but I've never engaged with online gaming or streaming or anything like that. And I have two little cousins in Fermoy that I usually see every week. We their father, my uncle, is a farmer, and usually we meet on the farm every week and do a bit of farming together. Or you know, we're out in amongst nature, in like working with the land. And so what I've done is with the two boys who got a PlayStation for Christmas, we are playing online together on Farm Simulator. So we have our own like online virtual farm that we're working on for an hour, 2 hours every day now, which is absolutely like insane. That's been really, really fun. It sounds ridiculously trivial and mundane when you say it out loud, but it's been brilliant. And again, that bit of social interaction. So I video call them their mom or dad on WhatsApp, and we just sit there chatting, and we can play on the do a bit of gaming, and I do a bit of calming myself the whole time as well. So I've been kind of engaging with that a bit more and we're looking into can the three of us, myself, and my 11 and 9-year-old best buddies, can we actually stream some of the gaming that we're doing? Because I never realized it before, but Farm Simulator and these kind of games actually have a really big online community. So we might actually try and do some of that. Again, it's a completely different creative outlook. So that's been really fun, and that has actually put a huge smile on my face every day in the current situation, which is brilliant. And yeah, then just sometimes you just need a sense of accomplishment or some kind of something to do. So cleaned out the shed, filled the skip with old furniture, just done some of those mundane house jobs that I just wouldn't have done otherwise. But the next thing to get me through the next probably 4 to 6 week period, and because that's inevitably, like realistically, I'm going to be stuck indoors for the next 4 to 6 week period. I've got a nice little 2K loop I can run around the house in the countryside here. So I do that. I'm trying to do that once a day. And then, as you said, the comedy, I'm going to try and start writing a few more comedy sets. And you've seen pretty much nearly every live comedy set that I've done. I'm going to try and join the different sets together and create a smooth segue from one into another. And I'm going to try and construct maybe a 25-30 minute comedy set as well that can incorporate, I suppose, pre-COVID-19, COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 stuff together. Maybe make a little show out of it that I could try and maybe do some night, perform some night in the Rogue Gallery. So there's a bit of that. And then short stories is something that I was always really interested in when I was younger, and I've never engaged in any short story writing. About Christmas time, I actually set up on my laptop a couple of ideas for short stories. So I think I have a couple of books to read. Once I've them read, I think I'm going to go down the kind of creative writing, short story writing aspect. I don't think I want to do anything with them. I just think I want it there as an outlet that I can just go and try and just create a few short stories and see where it takes me with absolutely no mind to publishing them online or doing anything like that. I know this is primarily a music podcast, and I come from a musical family. My dad's family are all really good Irish traditional musicians, but that skipped me. I have absolutely zero musical talent, so I won't be engaging too much with music apart from having Bell X1 and a couple of other really good indie Irish bands on in the background the whole time. But yeah, that's kind of, there's a good variety there. There's, I'm mixing it up a bit and trying to do a small bit of something every day. I usually cook a lot, but I've actually taken a step back from the cooking now, and I'm trying to just press a few different buttons in my brain and try and get it working, which hopefully it'll bring me down, open up a few new doors of interest for me, which I think is always good. It's always fresh. Just like we were saying earlier, to get other people's viewpoints, but put yourself out of your comfort zone and start doing stuff that you wouldn't normally do in not an ordinary time.
That's it. And that brings us on to the next question is, have you found anything out about yourself in this moment of quiet? Like, is there anything that you didn't really realize? But obviously, gaming with your nephews has been big and you didn't realize about the farming simulator. That's cool. But outside of that,
Yeah, it's funny because I about maybe 10 years ago or so I would have done CBT, which but I think it's so good and so good for you. The processes that are involved with cognitive behavioral therapy are really, really good, that they should nearly create a module in schools of it. It really teaches some self-help stuff. And I found social isolation, having too much time to think nearly, and then all this, the usual, I suppose, thought processes that go on in these kind of existential times. What I found out about myself is I wasn't engaging in the kind of techniques the CBT taught me over the last couple of years, stressful situations and work, etc. So it's been really good to just get back to basics with kind of the CBT process during the day of not catastrophizing about everything and thinking things through, and rather than getting upset at the big, appreciating the small little things around you. And I think that's what I found out about myself, is probably that I should appreciate the small little things that are in and around me more. Like before we came on, I was telling you about the amazing dinner that my fiance cooked for me earlier, and like just appreciating that a little bit more than I should do, or just going for a walk in the countryside, just appreciating the landscape in rural Ireland, and how lucky we are to have it. Just these small little basic, getting back to nature, getting back to a more fundamental way of thinking. As a kid, I loved all that stuff. And I think adulthood, your 20s tends to bring you nearly into a different sphere. And sometimes it's good just to revert back to that kind of very fundamental, very basic, very innate relationship with just the earth and the land and yourself. And look, what I feel myself is I don't look inward enough, and I'm going to try and start looking inward a bit more, regardless of what way society evolves and develops. The other, the other thing, which I don't know how political you want to get, Becca, but I suppose the other thing that I'll briefly touch on as well is I've realised that I'm not happy with how society treats the vulnerable people in society. So I think this whole experience has radicalised a bit more towards, a fairer, more progressive, responsible society. So, I've struggled a lot with that in the last couple of weeks, and getting like unnecessarily angry about the way things have been and might be going forward. I'm lucky that I've had a platform in life to like do quite well and have a good income and stuff. But I'm not content with myself doing well. I think everyone should do well, and that's kind of, again, coming back to those CBT processes. I was getting angry about it last week, and it's like, right, over the last week of self-isolating, coming to learn myself, right, what have I found out about myself? Getting overly angry and lashing out about things, that doesn't construct anything. It only destructs stuff. So trying to now I'm like, right, I need to find, how can I creatively contribute towards society in a better way and get to that better place that I'd love Irish society to be in the rest of the world too. But I don't know, is
yeah.
that a bit too heavy or too deep?
No. That makes perfect sense. I've been finding out loads of things about myself as well on a more deeper level. This really bizarre thing happened with me personally, whereas like a lot of people wouldn't know this about me, but I suffer really badly with anxiety, have done for years, and I usually mask it really well by being overly confident. It works. But I have not been anxious once in the last 2 weeks.
That's
It
really
could be
good.
because I don't have to leave the house,
Yeah.
but I think it's because I'm able to
Yeah.
enjoy life, because I'm able to take time, because nothing's on schedule. I don't have a million things. Everything I do now is on my own schedule. Everything gets to be enjoyed in its purest form.
Yeah, but I think that's probably parallel to what I was saying earlier, that fundamental innate like contentness with the smaller things, you know. We've grown up in like a globalized world. Like you grew up in like 15 million different countries, you know, like it's just the world is such a smaller place now. Um but at the same time too, I think that shrinking perspective on the world has just made us appreciate our little corner of the world a little bit less. And I just think like this has given us all a chance to be happier with what we have around us, you know.
And it's made us all realize, I think, that whatever we were doing before wasn't working. So I don't think we're ever going to be able to go back to normal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but like every industry you look at, like you look at the music industry in the last 10 years, and like the kind of the divide in wealth in the music industry has paralleled everything else. Like, and you've got a select few who are doing really, 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 really well out of the music industry, and then you've got some incredibly talented people that just because they don't have the financial means behind them, or because they like, you know, because they're not corporate enough, or they don't have enough of a well a marketability about them. They're not judged on their talent, and I think, you know, it's a similar thing. Like I think music has a lot of parallels with the rest of the world in that. I think this is I hate to talk about it being like an opportunity because people are dying, but it for it I think it puts a responsibility on the shoulders of everyone now to appreciate what needs to be appreciated a bit more. I think that is as true for the music industry as it is for any other part of society.
Yeah, it's true. It does. It has to, evolve and change. And if it's not awakening something in you, or, I'm still getting so many people going, oh, I really wish I was in the pub. And I was like, do you not realize this is your one shot in life to save the world by sitting on your couch? Like, and you actually have a
Yeah,
couch to sit on.
yeah. I mean, I'd love to be in a pub, but how do you adapt? And I've brought the pub to me, having the cans and going and meeting the guys, and like we're really lucky. Like we're in an era now where I can speak to you from a different house. We're in a different county, like, and I can have a conversation with you now. Like when the Spanish flu hit in 1918, like we wouldn't have been able to meet up. You know, that's like we're really lucky in that we live in the information age and that we nearly know too much. You know, like we're nearly damned in one way but blessed in another. And I just think for people who are feeling the claustrophobic, like video, like I found like video calling like my nieces and nephews and stuff like that, and just the kids and seeing them just they're still happy go lucky and going about their days smiling and laughing, and like that's just like why would you need the pub? Like the pub will be there in a couple of months, you know, the cinema will be there in a couple of months. As I said, like actually I should be flying from New York to New Orleans on my honeymoon right now.
I
New
know.
Orleans, but New Orleans will still be there in a couple of months, you know, and I won't enjoy New Orleans if I'm not there in a couple of months. So let's mind ourselves and let's go and enjoy the things that we should be enjoying now when we can in the future. But not just that, not just New Orleans, but like as I said, um, let's enjoy the stuff that we have here. Like, why not support more local businesses, more local musicians, more local venues? Like, instead of saving up and going to the Tree Arena 3 times a year, why not go to your local venue 10 times a year for a gig, you know? And I think that's something that we can learn from the current predicament and what's going on in the world. And again, I think it just gives that learning opportunity. It's every day is a chance for us all to learn something new about ourselves and to grow and respect maybe areas of neglect more. It's a bit of deep thinking, but I think it's spot on, you know.
It's so true. Like at the moment, I'm buying 3 band t-shirts every week without fail to try and support the artists. So this is one of them. I cut it up because they won't make girl-shaped ones, right?
Yeah, I saw that today. Yeah, actually, Neve was giving out. We got a delivery as well today of some clothes that I bought online, including my really cool. I know, can you see it there? My raccoon, my socialist
Oh,
raccoon.
so cute.
No, Passaran. And we got some stuff in today, and like that Neve when we're buying online, and she was like, just get the boys one because the girls ones are weird fits. And she's like, I'd rather it baggy. So maybe that's where the clothing industry needs to go. The musical merchandise industry needs to be more female friendly.
Yeah, that's it. Because I like the girl-shaped ones because they're really tight and stuff. Like I like my t-shirts to be fitted, and obviously Neve doesn't. So maybe I'm one of the few women that actually wants things like stuck to her. I don't know, like. But then as well, what I've
I
been
don't
doing
know.
is getting deliveries from Malloy's because I can't leave the house because Keanu's under 16, so I can't bring him out with me, and I can't get anyone to mind him. So all the food has to be delivered. But instead of going for Tesco or a big brand, I was like, local butcher. He's got my milk, he's got my butter, he's got my eggs, he's got my vegetables.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's it. I just think if everyone gets a bit more local after this, like people are worried about economy and jobs and stuff like that. If we support each other and we just commit to local, we should be fine.
I agree. I think so. I really think so. Like, so obviously the fish shop closed down last week, so I'm technically out of a job.
Mm.
Sure, the fishermen aren't fishing because most of their money is made in exports, so they can't. Is Neve? All right.
We're doing a podcast. You just wanted a kiss blown at her. She's good now.
Huh?
I said you just wanted a kiss blown at you. You're good now. And yeah, you're dead right. Like these jobs are going obviously going to go, but like I think they'll come back. You
Of
know,
course they will.
and they'll have to come back. And you know what? Again, this situation is not something to celebrate, and it's not celebrating at all. But even when you look at it from a fisheries point of view, like this has given the oceans and fish like a much needed opportunity to replenish um their their fallen populations as well. So like it's it's not a situation to be celebrating, but at the same time too, it's there are opportunities to rebuild society again when this is all over, and that's part of it. Like as you said, the fish shop, like it should make fishermen's lives a little bit easier for a shorter space of time. Anyway, when it comes to the fishing, there should be plenty of fish in the sea to go after for them.
Yeah, it will. It'll make a difference in everything. And I'm not saying we should celebrate this time either by any means, but seeing the positive and the silver lining in life is not necessarily the same thing as celebrating the badness, you know? It's just taking the best from a situation.
Yeah, it's definitely not to be scoffed at all. I think there's already going to be greedy businesses out there looking to see how they're going to profit from this. So I think we as a society need to look at say how can we protect ourselves and make sure that the not just the health effects but the economic effects and societal effects of this don't apply to everyone, and that goes across all ranges of society, including your small bands, your little musicians getting by gig to gig. Like the gig economy has been shut down overnight, and like that's going to have a huge impact on the Irish music industry. And like the Irish music industry depends on gigs more than most, I would imagine. So,
Yeah.
As you said, support your local artists, buy their t-shirts, buy their CDs. Like most cars still have CD players. So like, buy a CD at this point in time and play it in the car. And that 10-12 quid will go a long way to keeping those artists off the breadline.
Yeah. And that's really, really good advice. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Now, obviously, you mentioned you should be on your honeymoon. So your wedding had to be postponed because of COVID-19.
Yeah, we should have been married last Friday. But we've been really lucky. Like it's happened to a good few people. We've been lucky that like hotel, all the suppliers, everyone is free on the same day in September. So Sunday the 13th September now we haven't, so we've been really lucky. It's not going to cost us anything extra. Everyone's been really good. And we've been really lucky that as well that they were all together on the same date. So get married on a Sunday, that'll be a bit strange. I don't think I've been to a Sunday wedding before. I'm not sure, but it just gives us a chance to make a long week out of it. And yeah, it's kind of it. Do you know when when the closures were initially announced, there was this like selfish 12 hours where it was all about me. And it was like, I think it was just like, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen to us. But you just realize pretty quickly that A, it's not going ahead, no matter how much you want it to. And B, look at so long as you're both strong and healthy and all your family are at the end of all this, sure look, what's another 6 months?
I had a 24 hours of selfishness. I cried for 24 hours after the Taoiseach announced that my event was going to be closed, right? And then I reframed it and now I'm fine. But yeah, I completely understand it because you put so much into something. It's a wedding and a partnership and something that you've been looking forward to for a very long time. So it's very important. It's a massive step in your life, and now all of a sudden it's out of reach. Like it's rescheduled, but it's still out of reach, and it's not going to plan. And no one likes when things go off plan. Like nobody, you know. And then I missed out on Steak and DJ Day, and I put in everything, and I just felt like the world was just out to get me. For 24 hours I cried, and then I was like, okay, Rebecca, get your shit together. Actual people are dying, and this is bigger than you not getting your day in the sun, like, you know.
Yeah, but I think as well, Becca, like at the end of all this, the world will need Steak and DJ Day more at the end of all this than it even did beforehand, if you know what I mean. Like anything that's going to raise mental health awareness at the end of a pandemic is going to be important. And like there's a lot of people, a lot of healthcare workers going to go through really traumatic experiences in work and stuff. So like those kind of events are going to be like invaluable when we turn the corner. So in a sense, it could be, you know, it's the kind of thing that Waterford is exactly going to need at the end of all this.
Yeah, and it gives me an extra year to plan.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can, yeah, well, you had a fairly well planned to begin with. Like you were fairly organized. So
You know, but look, I can do something bigger, like 12 DJs instead of 9.
yeah, and like two steaks for everyone instead of one.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll work out.
So, because we just normally do talk about music and the music industry, now you're not my only non musical guest, by the way. I have a few plans that are not going to be music, but I'll just ask you the one music question and then I'll let you go. So, what was the first song you fell in love with?
Oh, the first song I fell in love with. This is a really tough question because I, the first song I fell in love with, it's a really tough question because in my early childhood, my first memories of music is traditional music. Um, but then I remember, what song did I sing in preschool? I have this vivid memory of preschool of me just standing up in front of everyone singing a song, and the word love or kiss was in it, and then getting slagged off by the rest of the class because I wanted to kiss a girl, or you know, that's kind of 3 or 4 year old stuff. Um, what was that? Could be like Forever Blue Jeans or something like that. I think that was like that. What I think that's what that memory is. But the first song I fell in love with is probably either I can remember when What's the Story Morning Glory came out first, and my dad loved that. It's probably a song that my dad listened to a lot because even though my dad doesn't listen to too much music, like he really loves what he loves. And I remember having What's the Story Morning Glory on cassette and a couple of Oasis tapes around at the time. Definitely She's Electric was one of the first songs I fell in love with. But that's probably heavily influenced by my the first song I probably listened to on my own and fell in love with was maybe when I'm thinking back to junior 7 and 8 and you're starting to get a bit of independent thinking. I remember the first time I heard The Beautiful South, Rotterdam or Anywhere. That's like that really, I was like, wow, this is really good. Like I love this song. And I've kind of again before COVID-19, but I've got back in touch with the Beautiful South again in the last couple of months and started listening to them again. So I remember hearing that song for the first time, and thinking, yeah, I really, really love this. Or else I would, but I'd probably say the right answer, probably the first song I knew off by heart and just really, really like binged on is, I'd say it's Save Tonight by Eagle Eye Cherry. That was, yeah, that really, Dad loved that one as well. But yeah, I went head over heels for Save Tonight. Um, yeah, because I don't think I was too into music back in at that stage of my childhood. Probably the song that influenced me the most then, um, mm, trying to think. Do you know when you're that early teenager and you're normally listening to absolute muck? Um, yeah, I don't know. I'd say Save Tonight, Eagle Eye Cherry.
Well, it's a good choice.
Probably a bit mainstream for what I listen to now.
Yeah, look, Balix One is really good. Like they wouldn't be up in my favorites at all, but I could see it, you know. I do
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
that.
I've actually, yeah, Pinball Machine from Bellix One came out around the early 2000s when I was kind of just coming into being a teenager. So that was a big song. And actually, probably in my later life, the song I put it up. You reacted to my Facebook story to it there last night. So a Blarney guy who grew up just down the road from, I can see his parents' house from my parents' house, was Mick Flannery, and that song Safety Rope, which is on his first album, White Lies, is one of my favorite songs of all time.
But
So
McFlannery is
that's like
amazing.
my,
Like,
yeah, his voice is incredible. So that's my like my hauntingly beautiful song, if you know what I mean. Like that's when I'm feeling down, listen to that a few times, and then I start getting out of my funk my own way. So yeah, Mick Flannery as well. I had to give him a shout because we're on a music podcast and it's probably the best voice I've ever heard live. So
yeah, he's amazing, and it's an incredible song. So I really did enjoy you sharing that this morning. I listened to it afterwards. I was like, oh wow.
yeah, so
So
good,
I'm trying to
so
get
good.
people to send me the soundtracks of their lives, you know, because I think that's a really interesting concept. But there's a lot of work to it. Like it took me, I think, a week to make mine, and I'd be fairly musically buff, like. So I know other
Yeah.
people
So
who
what?
were working on those for 6 months.
Yeah, I what I wanted to do, what I was thinking of doing for like exercising and just tipping up, like doing housework and stuff like that to kind of motivate me to do it, is I want to go and look at every single year since I was born. I pick one song out from each year and create a Spotify playlist of it and just add to one song a year. So I think I'm gonna do that in the next few weeks as well. And that'll be my bit of musical creativity. Is going back through songs from, I don't look like it, but I was born in 1990, so I could start in 1990 and just pick a song each year, and I'll make like a 30-song playlist, I reckon, in the next few weeks. So I'll send that on to you when I'm done.
Do I'd love to hear it. And I don't look like it, but I was born in 1985.
Yeah, but you don't look like it for the opposite reason. So
It has its downsides, DJ.
did you get asked for ID when you're trying to order milk and eggs online from Malai's butchers?
Yes.
You have
Or
to send Keanu out to the door.
do you know when they were doing the canvassing recently? I answered the door in my
Yeah,
pajamas, and a guy went, "Are your mom and dad home?"
you should have sent Keanu out.
I was like, "What?"
It's, is he didn't intend it to be a compliment, but I take it that way. Anyway, I'd love one of them questions.
Is your mom and dad home? No.
Oh, very good. Very
Look,
good.
DJ, thanks so much. I'll stop recording now. Enjoy your evening. Thanks for giving me your
No,
time. I'll share this up on the YouTube later, and I'll listen into your podcast. So for anyone at home listening that's interested in DJ and what he's doing, which they should be because he's flipping amazing, the Snugcast is available on all streaming platforms. And they
all
talk
of them,
about,
iTunes, Spotify,
yeah, I listen to
the
you on
works.
Spotify mostly, and then you're doing the live things on the YouTube channel, which you'll find through the Facebook page.
Yeah, and they're going out on Spotify and all the other media outlets then a couple of days later. So
Perfect. And it's Friday nights you're doing the live one, and then it goes out by about a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to add
Perfect.
anything?
Thanks. Do you want to add anything? Yes, support your local artist. We say support your local brewery on the Snugcast. So I just want people to support your local artist.
Yes.
Find an artist in your area that you like and support them.
Support the scene. Thank you, DJ. I'll talk to you soon.